don't know about you, but I'm thinking another flood isn't such a bad idea. All in favor of just a total earth cleansing? Say aye. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
What are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm
the lowest. You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children. Places like Rockefeller needed someone to say, look, we're entering a different world where numbers and the numbers of companies, portfolio management was going to be balanced. It was going to be statistical. Jeffrey, could you come on the board? Potentially sit on the finance committee, Nancy Kissinger and a bunch of other people. And David Rockefeller and I got along very well. And David started to explain to me world politics. So David would say, Jeffrey, money is going to be sort of the most important things. People don't understand money. You seem to have this knack for money. I said to be a combination of both politics and business and leadership. What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is some spooky stuff. People said it was some of the people that, the Illuminati, there's some mystery about it, people that ran the world. It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this Trilateral Commission of businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians. So he said to me, would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission? Now, I was just 30 years old, 32 years old. I said, great. And he said, well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio. And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker, every great leader in America, the Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like to have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid, which I thought was funny, nobody else did.
So that was supposedly, because I always am going to question any interview that comes out way after the fact. Why wasn't it leaked a long time ago, right? I'm always going to question the authenticity, but if that is Epstein and he is talking about the Trilateral Commission, he just talked about the deep state in a really nice way. You're supposed to walk away thinking that that's not the deep state. That's just a bunch of people that are in money. That's what you're supposed to think. Okay. Well, if you just fell off the turnip truck, that clip's for you. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how you can just go, yeah, it's just a bunch of people and they're just cool. And yeah, we just all got together because of money. And Paul Volcker and Clinton, Paul Volcker was one of the architects of the PNAC. The PNAC agreement was the agreement that led us into 9/11, where it was like, here are the planning stages of 9/11, and we're going to blame it on some people in some caves. The PNAC said that we needed the new Pearl Harbor. That was that agreement. So Paul Volcker, it's like major deep state guy. Anyway, these are the guys that actually run the show. They run the presidency. They run everything. But Epstein just made it look like, it's just a bunch of guys getting together and talking about money. Yeah, that's not what that was. Anyway, I have Susan Reeve up first and then Melissa, Midwest Melissa. So a little switcheroo today. Midwest Melissa will join us a little bit later. And I hope you're enjoying the clips and the short clips. Please share those. And let me just tell you, some of them are going viral, which I'm actually excited about, especially the ones with Dr. Brian Artis. So I love that. Oh, by the way, in the clip, he never mentioned Epstein in that interview. He never mentioned how he got in front of David Rockefeller and how he became so chummy and how he was pals with everybody. So that's the missing piece, that never gets mentioned. All right. So Susan Reeve, you're up first. How are you?
I'm just doing really well.
Excellent.
Trying to get through to spring. I'm looking forward to spring.
Yeah, January was long, and January and February, it's a struggle, my friends.
Yeah, it really is. What are we looking forward to? So Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I've been fasting. I've been doing like 2 days of fasting, and then I know I do 2 days of liquid fasting, bone broth, and like. There is a protein shake that's dairy-free, sugar-free that I do. And then herbal teas and stuff. And I do that for 2 days. And then on the third day, or the end of the second day, I eat a little bit and then I do it again. And so I'm doing that every week and kind of getting so my health
That's
back.
great,
And
because
I have cardio
that kind
miracle.
of fasting promotes autophagy, which means your cells start cleaning themselves out because your body doesn't have to be processing a lot of food. So it goes into repair mode.
Yes.
Very smart longevity experts really promote that.
Well, you know what? I actually feel really good. I mean, I haven't felt this good in a while. Like I feel super, I was just eating a lot of crap. But I'd sip on this all day, Cardio Miracle. That's really helping me because it's vitamin D delivery, like the best kind you can have. And then also getting all the other minerals too into your cells. It has a way of getting them into the cells. And that's what I like about it, is that I can feel it. I can feel the energy push all the time. I'm just like, I don't need an energy drink. I don't need a pop. I don't need a Coke. I used to always need a Coke, but this stuff is just amazing. Like I was up early doing stuff. I can't even tell you the amount of energy I have right now and how good I feel. So anyway, cardiomiracle.com/Kate, get it. I'm telling you, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel different, and do 2 doses, not 1. That's when when I did 1 dose, it didn't work. When I did 2 doses, I was like, game changer. So anyway, all right. Wow. So I do feel really good.
It's all about the mitochondria. They've really figured out that so many of our diseases, at the base of them, it's at the cellular level, and it's the cells aren't working properly. And so we've all been treating things from the outside in. Yeah. And this really repairs things at the root. Yeah. And so that's really impressive. And energy is the sign. Energy is the sign that the cells are working. So I'm so happy for you.
Well, the fasting thing has just been insane. Yeah. It's been so good. And then just taking the right things all day long. So that's been pretty awesome too. All right. Okay. Well, where do you want to start? Because you had you had the male versus female thing, and I wanted to hear about that too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. A really fascinating study that has come out in January, actually. And I heard one of the people involved talking about it. And it's called Empathetic Neural Responses Are Modulated by the Perceived Fairness of Others. And what that means is they took men and women, and it was 16 men, 16 women, and they had them do what's called the prisoner's dilemma game. And people might not know what that is. Prisoner's dilemma is, assume 2 people are arrested, and you get different punishments based on whether or not you cooperate. So if you cooperate, if both prisoners stay silent, if they cooperate with each other, they get a light sentence. But if one betrays the other, one goes free, the other gets a super harsh sentence, say 3 years. If both prisoners betray each other, they each get a moderate sentence, say 2 years. And so it's all these dilemmas, it's all these trade-offs. And so when they did this exercise, and then they did it as a group and they did it as individuals, there were people who were willing to just betray each other. So it created animosity. And that was the desire in the test, to create the animosity. Who's the cheater? Who's going to betray you? Then they tested empathy. So they were testing these keys. They put neural monitors on people. And it was interesting because for men and women, when they felt people were getting slight jolts of electricity. And for the people that played fairly, they felt empathy for those people. Okay. Those were people they felt good towards, people who had played fairly. But when it was an unfair player who was getting jolted, the men felt a surge of revenge. They did not feel empathy. The women continued to feel empathy even towards the unfair players. And what they started to realize is that women were in an empathy mode, regardless of whether somebody was perceived as a good person or a bad person, fair player or non-fair player. And there was a discussion, and then you extrapolate that to look what's happening. Look, who are these people who are maybe being paid to protest ICE, but who really get affected by what's perceived to be unfair. And you're like, well, these people are getting arrested. Some of them are rapists, they're criminals, they're domestic abusers. The women don't care. The women feel empathy regardless of whether or not a person is a criminal or a non-criminal. And, you know, I guess you could divide that in a sense by political philosophy. That would be interesting, because if you are a conservative woman, I'm happy for law and order. I want to see somebody, I can imagine that this guy who looks normal could be a bad guy and yes, deserves to be arrested. But you hear these women say, they're taking them away from their families. They're taking. Why would they have empathy towards that? Yeah. So there was more discussion about this fact that in a family, you have a father who can separate himself and say, oh no, you deserve punishment. You need to be held accountable. And a mother who enjoys having empathy for her child, whether that child is behaving or not behaving, the mother has empathy. And I thought that is really interesting, because who else is an advocate for that child? Mother is the permanent advocate for that child. Now, there's parenting styles where you have to talk, you know, you figure out what's fair for that child in terms of a punishment and whatnot. But, you know, it is hard when your child is facing a consequence. It is hard when, you know, your heart does break a little to see them that they didn't get to go to an activity because they didn't do the things they needed to do. You feel bad. And this study kind of shows that, you know, men can really not, they can turn that empathy off. They can step back and have a different emotion towards a person if their feelings towards that person change. I thought that was very, very interesting. And it goes back to, how are women wired? Why are we wired? We are wired to protect that infant at all costs. We're wired to protect that toddler, that child. And that's good. That's how humanity has survived, right?
That's why we have the babies. It's because we have the babies. These separate gifts.
And why the greatest threat to any child is having a stepfather, step-parent in the home, but usually a stepfather, is the greatest predictor of child abuse, which I didn't realize. I was listening to Dr. Gad Saad, S-A-A-D, and he brought that up, that is the greatest predictor of child abuse. You know, and also it puts to the idea that, oh, you can have a stay-at-home dad. You know, and I have family members that were temporarily stay-at-home dads. But it's a different wiring involved.
Well, we did that. We switched roles for a while when my husband was needed his degree, right? Needed his higher degree. And so we switched roles, and he fast-tracked it and did a great job. But when we switched roles, I mean, there was definitely a difference. I mean, him raising the kids and me raising being home all day is what I'm saying. Yes. We didn't want to do daycare. And so that's what we did. I went to work to be able so that he could be home doing school and watching the kids. And it's completely different. My kids will tell you it's completely different. The one thing that good came out of it too was that we both learned how each other doesn't have it harder.
Yeah.
I used to play that card a lot. Like, I've got it harder, and he was like, well, I'll tell you what, gals, those guys are out working hard for your family, and it's a lot of stress, and the stress never ends. It never ends. And that's a hard stress to have all the time. And to be financially, and I'm talking about the women that stay home with their kids. The guy has it hard to do that, and the girl has it hard because it's 24 hours of poopy diapers and cleaning and doing all that stuff too, and making dinner, and it's thankless, and both are kind of thankless. Like, I think women get it wrong when they don't appreciate their husbands working hard for them, and men get it wrong when they don't think it's much of a job. It is a job, and so it's a lot of work, So yeah, I learned a lot when we switched roles, and it was humbling. It was a humbling experience for me.
Yeah, and I think you are absolutely right about it being relentless, and how men have to just keep showing up day after day, and these hard jobs. You look at them and you go, "Oh, I think I could do that," but could you do it day after day,
right,
and not have it take a toll on you? I missed a night, a few hours of sleep the other night, and I woke up and I was had that slight morning headache. I thought, how did I do this as a mother? I remember this feeling, and you have to keep going. And it's hard.
It's hard.
It really is hard, but it is so rewarding. There is nothing. Now my children are grown and their grandchildren. Literally, there is nothing better. And one of the things that these scientists and researchers have been talking about is, if you're a woman and you have all this empathy, and maybe you have a dog, that you feel all this love and affection for, but who else needs you in your life? And you can see the pivoting towards these poor souls who are, being deported back to their countries. Many of those countries are, tourist destinations, but they're not thinking that, are deported back to these countries. And, that empathy turns towards these random people who then embrace them. They need the warriors, right? And they're paying them. And I just read how they're busing people into Boston for protests, busing people in. And so what does that say?
Well,
but the empathy factor is big.
It is big. It's just, it's so displaced sometimes, though. And what they do is they cry and they cry and they cry about that kind of stuff, but they don't understand how important it is that we know who's coming into the country. And we've never said no one can come. What we've said is we want to vet them, and they don't get that. There's just this missing link of communication or understanding, or they're zombies. I don't know what it is, but they don't understand that people can be vetted and should be vetted and should have a love for this country and not just bust through the door illegally. And so, or under the gate or through the tunnel. And I think that we have every right to be able to vet who comes in. So it's amazing to me, because if this happened over in Italy and somebody, tried to do things over in Italy and wasn't a citizen there, they would have a problem with it, but the whole world wouldn't be speaking out. Here, the whole world is like, USA, all eyeballs on you. It's kind of like that Billie Eilish. Oh my gosh, that little Satanist. Making the comment that no one's illegal on stolen land, and I'm like, it was fought for land. That's a difference. Fought for land is all over the country, all over the world, and go ask Europe, and there are many fights over a very small piece of property, and you'll find it all over the place. Fought for land is not stolen land; it's fought for. So
right. Well, and there's
give me a break.
The tribe supposedly, that originally owned the land that her $3 million house is on, they have come out and said, you are on our land. And some lawyer has now volunteered to make that point in court that she is on stolen land. And it's like, you couldn't be stupid enough to not realize that if you're living in California, the Indians were there, Native Americans were there originally, yes. But you're going to stand up in front of the world and make that comment.
I know it's stolen is when somebody illegally comes into the country. That's stolen.
That's true. That's stolen. Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't it, right?
So it is. It's funny how it's completely twisted. It's kind of like women's roles and men's roles completely twisted. And the day that women finally figure out that, start just being who you are and stop trying to be everybody else and everything else, we'll have a better world, because I promise most of us were all raised by moms who got that, who understood what womanhood was. And we just have the worst understanding of what womanhood is. Womanhood now means be a man. And I think the men are like, don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. And I feel for that. I really do. Because I like a man to be a man. I like a woman to be a woman. This is really simple stuff. So,
yes. Helen Andrews, who's a researcher, said, if you look at wokeness, all the issues with wokeness are all feminization of systems that all desire for all of this. Let's not look at facts. Let's look at feelings. It is how women operate in the world in many cases. And it wasn't a problem until we've hit this tipping point where there's more feminization in organizations. And so, but now there's just so much dysfunction in those organizations. Well, and the other thing about it too, that is so disturbing, is schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, that have promoted children protesting against ICE. And I thought, if you want to create confusion in a child's life, you're going to have them protest law enforcement. And yet you expect them to behave in school. You expect them to behave at home. You expect them to behave in their own community. But you're having them protest law enforcement.
Right.
I thought, wow, what a way to create confusion in the mind of a child.
It's fun. It's weird to see the indoctrination, for sure. But I will say this about the ICE thing. And I was talking to my own kids about kids, they're adults, but about ICE. And, the ICE thing is interesting because it really, truly, the debate shouldn't be pro-ICE, anti-ICE, because pro-ICE is a blank check. Anti-ICE is really kind of all for the wrong reasons, kind of confused with what's going on right now that we're seeing in front of our eyes. Okay. Right. What the debate truly should be about. And by the way, the little kids they should never, ever be in these debates because they don't understand. They're too young. Let kids be kids, please. But the debate really should be about when rights are violated by government. That is when all people, no matter what, should be angry. Okay. Yeah. And so I was, we've talked about the staged events. I think they're very staged with Alex Preddy. But nevertheless, we always have to look at, instead of pro or anti, right? It's like, well, what is actually happening and where is it going? And why do they want to have this as the national debate right now? And that worries me more than, then it actually is like, oh, stop, it's pro or anti, give me a break. It's always on the extremes. It's never the thinking. It's never like what are we doing? What are we thinking about? Yeah. So
the reasoning behind it.
Don't let them set us up for future conservatives just being knocked off because the government thinks you might do something. That's thought crime. So you don't want that. And so it's like we have to figure out how we're going to talk about it without the pro and anti. I always think the people that do the pro and anti, they just don't have a brain in their head because they're so easily moved by the media to be in those two camps and to the extremes that they don't understand what they're even debating.
Yeah.
What they should be debating.
They're told, pick a side.
Yeah.
Pick a side.
Yeah.
Choose. And we can make this one look super ugly. This one looks super victimized.
Yes.
And they make the choice for you. They set the frame. That's what Chase Hughes, who did psyops for the military for a long time, he's like, you set the frame, but don't fall for other people setting the frame of this is this choice and this choice. He said that's a false dichotomy and you should be setting the frame. You have to reframe it. So just recognizing that, I had to laugh because there was also an article about how they're furiously knitting red hats that melt the ice, like heat of the red hats. Remember the pink pussy hats after Trump was elected that magically appeared by the millions. They're trying to get the red hats. That was
people were sending them to me. They were sending them to the station.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, these women. Oh, these women. They want to wear their vagina on their heads. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how ridiculous can you be?
Like the absurdity. Can I interject something super random?
Yeah.
It's kind of related to what is a mindset here.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting waiting for an appointment, looking through Architectural Digest. It's their 100th anniversary, and I'm flipping. I came to Gloria Steinem's house.
Ugh.
And it was the most intense, bizarre, crazy. If somebody was, if you said this is a house of somebody with schizophrenia, I would understand. But I looked at that and thought that is a manifestation of her brain on the outside. Wow. Look at that. If you can look it up online,
okay. I'll look at it. I really will, because we all know she was an asset. She actually admitted it. She was a CIA asset sent around to all the colleges to get the youth to listen to her message.
Ramped up. Yes,
she was an actress for them. Yeah,
absolutely ramped up. But when I saw her house, I was actually
weird,
shocked, and thought, I have never seen something so bizarre in my entire life. And how you could live in that and not have you drive crazy. So I thought, okay, now I'm really getting, a clear view of this is what the mindset that we're up against. And it does create some kind of break in people's, psychic cohesion, because you have to, the older you get, with the more stress, modern life is very stressful. You need to keep your brain coherent, cohesive. Like, you sound like you're doing really great. All the tracks are moving at the same time. But look what it's redirecting these young people to do, to create all this emotionality over something that doesn't even affect them.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's almost trying to create a break. It creates cognitive dissonance. Chase Hughes also said cognitive dissonance is one of the best things people use to manipulate other people, is to stir up the unsettled, the unsettled mind. So it's something to notice.
Okay. Let's talk about DNA.
Yes, DNA. So I came across a little clip that Tim Burkett, who is a representative for Tennessee, filmed today. He's like, we have got to stop the Chinese. They are so hell-bent on accumulating more and more DNA data that they are using for nefarious purposes. And so I started reading some of the articles, and it says China's government, such as BGI Group, formerly Beijing Genomics Institute, they've been actively acquiring people's genetic kits through methods like offering COVID testing labs, prenatal screening kits, partnerships with foreign firms, and direct collection programs within China. So this isn't always buying the DNA directly. This is offering services for your metabolic issues that they then scrape the DNA. But involves investments, collaborations, data sharing arrangements that result in access to DNA material from millions of people worldwide. And it said, based on reports from intelligence officials, media investigations, and science analysts, the motivations appear multifaceted, including legitimate research goals and other types of security and military goals. So China, in their mind, they view data resource for breakthroughs in healthcare and bioresources, and they have a goal. They want to be the global leader by 2035 as part of its Made in China 2025 initiative. A population of 1.4 billion, the country sees its own citizens, quote, as a DNA treasure trove. For studying.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, studying diseases, pharmaceuticals, blah, blah, blah. But also they get into population traits, and they're collaborating with the military on studies like combating hearing loss and things like that. But they have these prenatal tests that they sell globally. And so they're creating ethnic databases. That is just wild. Genomics is now seen as the new oil and the new gold, with its potential to fuel
always has. I mean, data. Yeah. DNA and
$4
data.
trillion biosector. And China's heavily investing government money in this. But here's what was so disturbing. So they're looking at economic advantages, new drugs, vaccines, therapies, right? But here's what's disturbing. They are going door to door collection and mandatory collection, school collection in China, because you don't have rights in China, right? The same kind of rights. And their goal is to collect like 700 million men, mostly young men. But this is like the kind of surveillance and intrusion that we would never do, but we do it voluntarily. And so I wanted to interject this. There is something that I go to every year that I absolutely love. It's called Roots Tech. It's here in Salt Lake City. This is where the headquarters of Ancestry and Family Search, all of these things, they have DNA testing as part of their program. Ancestry does. And I've had my DNA tested years and years ago before all of the security issues were a concern. But I think it's going to be raised as an issue. I know it's going to be raised as an issue. And I personally will then report back and see what they say about it. Because if China is this aggressive, and we know they are, how is our DNA kept safe? Can we take our things offline? Does that even matter? You know, it's very encouraging. And I absolutely love it when I watch crime shows and they go, here's an unsolved crime from 30 years ago. We've tested the DNA. We found a guy. He wasn't even on the suspect list. But then we find out he was in the area. I love that. I absolutely love that. It is intrusive. It is using people's DNA for a purpose they never imagined it would be used for. And it involves family trees. Family trees are being developed from all over the world. That's great. But what else is this going to be used for? So one of the concerns is that the national security and military applications lawmakers warn China's data collection poses risks beyond research, including espionage and military edges, meaning it'll give them an edge over us. It could enable genetically enhanced soldiers or engineered pathogens, foods that would affect food supplies or populations. So there was bipartisan U.S. legislation 2024 aimed to ban BGI from operating in America, citing fears of bioweapons. The acquisition of firms with DNA profiles are seen as steps towards dominating biotech for strategic gain. So they're saying it's just for health reasons. It's for strategic gain, including military civilian fusion programs. And so it says recent discussions highlight efforts to create bioweapons effective against non-Han, H-A-N, non-Chinese groups while protecting Chinese citizens. Is that possible? Obviously, it's going to be possible at some point, I think.
Well, it's kind of like Mel said yesterday. He was saying, you know, software companies are out. And obviously, AI's in, and you can do a whole lot more with AI than you can a software company. So those are going down, and people are getting out of those with stocks. And this is kind of the same thing. It's like people are realizing how valuable this data is for the future, and it's dangerous. It's tough. The world we're walking into isn't a fun one, but there's still joy. We'll still have joy, but it's just not. Gosh. It's just going to be a little scary a lot scary for what's coming, for sure.
Well, and we have to hope that there are people who, you know, I really like Representative Burkett. He seems to have good intentions and a good heart. Can people be advocates for our well-being? I hope so. You know, you don't want to give up the thought that there's nobody advocating. I think there are, and I think there are groups. And so, yeah, absolutely a lot of hope. But it really does then emphasize to me why our health is so important, why our good health is so important, why we need to be on top of it at all times. And and not just take it for granted.
Well, if you don't feel good, it's really hard to get energized to want to do anything, because depression sets in when people don't feel good, when they're in pain, or so we have to do everything in our know-how. This is why I have a lot of doctors on the show to help us to kind of understand how to get that back. And like today, I feel really good today. And it's tough because this is all I do for a living, is look at all this crap, and it's hard. So it takes a toll in stress on me, on my body. So all I'm saying is that if you feel good, you're going to want to help. You're going to want to do more. And that's why we need all hands on deck. We're just, health that's the one thing you can control, because you can make decisions about it. So
yes, you have options if you're doing well.
Yeah.
And it's when you learn new things, and the pressure, I think it's so great that we have so much available now, that the longevity experts who are pushing the envelope on what is good for us. And it is an opportunity to understand it and take action about it before we're having to react because we're already sick. I am just, and so then maybe some of these things that they're doing with DNA will be less impactful on us if we're a super healthy population and family. And it's hard. If you're a healthy family member, but you have a family member who is not healthy, that then ends up affecting you, not just health-wise, but mentally, and what you can do and access.
All you caregivers out there, we're talking about you.
Yes,
I always feel for the caregivers. Oh, it's hard.
Invisible caregivers and the stress and toll on them. So that is something I thank you for mentioning. That's really important. I wanted to mention one thing before we leave this, is that China also has 140 million profiles for monitoring dissent and neutralizing protests. And I thought, they would do that, wouldn't they?
Well, I mean, they might have gotten it from us. So
that's right.
Sometimes I think they play up the China versus USA, even though we're hand in hand. Picture two, girls in pigtails walking through the park. It's like hand in hand, just loving on each other. And I think that they like to portray China as an enemy a lot, just to kind of raise the debate and get us like, oh, we can't have China get that, or can't have China do that. I don't know. I just think we're hand in hand more than anything.
Oh yeah, the psychopaths are everywhere, looking how to maintain power and control, and so they're going to find allies wherever they can. And China just has more freedom. It's why we moved COVID research over to China, and we passed laws here, and our own biotech people said, well, then we'll just do the stuff in China, and we were involved in that from the U.S. Anyway, that was just my last point. Something that far more entertaining, I think, is the Melania movie. I haven't seen it yet, and I am going to go see it. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm just interested in the media reaction, which has been absolute hysteria. These long articles about why I'm going to go see it so you don't have to, and it's ridiculous. It's absurd, and she's the Sphinx. I just have to smile at the fact, the hypocrisy of these media people who fawn over Anna Wintour, who is, somebody wrote a book called The Devil about her, The Devil Wears Prada, because she has such a vile personality who the left loves. And things like, well, here's Melania, this introvert. We don't understand her background completely. She was at those model parties with Jeffrey Epstein and Trump, where
I think that's how he met her. I think that's how he met her, but they don't really want that coming out.
No. And you know what? She
met her. But I like Melania. Melania, there's nothing wrong with Melania. It's like they try to scapegoat, anger onto Melania. I'm like, really? She's not the star of this deep state show. She is a distraction, because there's nothing wrong with her. She does what Melania does. There's nothing there except for the way that that her relationship with Epstein back in the day, and how she probably met Trump. But I just think it's always this distraction to me.
It is a distraction, but what is she doing? That's what I'm interested in, because it's provoked the media to unbelievable. You're like, why are you throwing yourself on the ground about this? and the thing about her and Trump is, in the first administration with Trump, there were all these memes on the left about how she's a victim and she's a hostage, and Melania, blink if you need us to rescue you.
That was ridiculous.
It was so funny. And so now, as soon as he was elected, she was the one who initiated this film and said, I want to make a film. So this is the 20 days leading up to the inauguration. She wanted to project this image of strength, and I'm in charge and I'm making decisions. And I thought, well, that's super interesting that she said people asked her, like, well, what is it like? And she's like, well, I'm going to make a movie about it. Who did she pick as a director? This is so odd. Brett Ratner.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers fired in 2017 because he became accused in the Me Too movement by several actresses. Where did he flee? Fled to Israel. So here Melania plucks out of obscurity, says Brett Ratner. That's interesting, right?
So, yes. The people. Yeah. I saw that and I was like, okay, just keep in mind this thought that doesn't matter who she would have picked. They're all on the list. So it's like, it is interesting because it's fodder, right? For leftists, but it's so funny to me because it's like, yeah, well, the deep secret is that they're all not on the list. I'm just kind of saying that as a cliche, but they're all in this little cabal. If you're not in the club, you're never going to be able to direct movies because Hollywood is so shammy and disgusting and evil. So it just makes me laugh because I'm like, well, all the other ones were too.
Well, and he said, he said this literally, it brought him back from obscurity. I mean, it brought him back, and now he's a known entity again, and he's in the news, and he's not ashamed. He's like, I'm here. So Olivia Munn was one of the people who accused him. I've always liked Olivia Munn. But there's parts. This was what's interesting is she chose what parts she wanted to see in the movie. So she cut the trailer, which features a particularly interesting interaction between Trump and her, where President Trump says to her, "Did you watch my speech?" And she says, "No, I did not, but I'll watch it on the news later." Like almost dismissive of him. In another clip that she wanted to be in there, he said, "I had a wonderful conversation with Putin this morning." And she says something like, well, that's interesting because he just bombed another village. Like almost like to slap down his enthusiasm. Like, here we go. And I thought, well, this is interesting. But in this UK Times article, which is much more neutral, they talk about the fact her promoter says that this is about messaging and her imagery and promoting her image, because it gives the impression that she's going to be doing something more later.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm like, okay, well, when they do a movie about somebody, it means they're going to do something bigger. And so are they going to run her as, are they going to do a JD Vance Melania ticket? You never know. You never know. All I'm saying is
that too, right?
All I'm saying is they did a movie for a reason. Now we got to figure out what the reason is, because it's always a distraction as far as what that means. So it would not surprise me if they were going to run her for office, but always remember that the deep state's running the show. So it's who they can use in those spots, right? So
that's like what Jeffrey Epstein essentially said was, it's all every 4 years they're putting in puppets, these actors who come and go. But she says in this movie, I have my own thoughts. I have my own yes and no. I don't agree with always agree with what my husband's doing. That's okay. Like, she is independent of him.
Yep.
And I thought, yes, what is this? And now it's coming out before the midterms. I thought this is all timed, and it's to give her strength and independence. Why? Right. That's the question. So anyway, that's
always a reason. Secretary of State. Yeah. Since she speaks so many languages, I could see that. Yeah. Secretary of State. Thanks, Elby. Yeah. I've thought about that, just because they would never do a movie unless they were really pushing her to the next level. So, but remember, they're all used. It doesn't matter who we're talking about. Like, they're all used in that whatever capacity. So They have to do what they're ordered to do, what they're told to do, and back. So sadly, I hate that, but it is what it is.
The truth.
So
It's the media age.
Yeah.
It's the image age.
Yes.
It's the communication age. And it's so meaningful to have somebody who looks like her next to him. It's meaningful.
Yeah.
There's a reason, and it's the image that he wanted, and it's perfect that he found somebody who looks, just like a doll on his arm. And now and I think it's in part, how much older is he's like 25 or 30 years older than her. He's hunched over, he's gray, and she's coming into her own. The timing on this is very interesting.
Yeah, something with JD Van. They're gonna put the two of them together. Not romantically, but there's going to be something there that she is in office. Mark my words on that one. Thank you so much, Susan Reeve. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Always my pleasure. Kate.
Yeah, you betcha. All right, Melissa. I'm so glad you're here. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Still hanging in.
Right. I'm going to play this clip again, and it's 3 minutes, and I just wanted everyone to hear it as a run up to what you're going to talk about, if that's okay. Just because I played it at the beginning, but it's always hard because usually people are coming on, and I really want people to hear this clip about Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah.
Perfect.
Are you good? Okay. Here we go.
Tier 1.
Was tier one's the highest and worst?
No,
The lowest. You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
Predator.
That the money came from. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children. Places like Rockefeller needed
Epstein.
someone to say, look, we're entering a different world where numbers and the numbers of companies, portfolio management was going to be balanced. It was going to be statistical. Jeffrey, could you come on the board? Potentially sit on the finance committee. Nancy Kissinger and a bunch of other people. And David Rockefeller and I got along very well.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
And David started to explain to me world politics. So David would say, Jeffrey, money is going to be sort of the most important things. People don't understand money. You seem to have this knack for money. I said to be a combination of both politics and business and leadership. What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is some spooky stuff. People said it was some of the people that the Illuminati.
It is the Illuminati.
Mystery about it. People that ran the world.
It is.
It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this Trilateral Commission
The deep
of
state.
businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians. So he said to me, would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission? Now, I was just 30 years old, 32 years old. I said, great. And he said, well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio. And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker, every great leader in America, the Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like to have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid, which I thought was funny. Nobody else did.
Yeah, nobody would think that was funny. So we have a lot to talk about.
Funny either.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. And when he mentioned Bill Clinton and Paul Volcker, I said this at the beginning of the show, but that was the guy, one of them behind the PNAC, which the PNAC agreement was prior to 2001, talking about how we needed a new Pearl Harbor for the next 20 to 30 years of war and reconstruction contracts and everything else that they do. And so when he said businessmen, remember that This was 4 years. So the Trilateral Committee, I think, was formed about 4 years after the Toronto Protocols. Remember the 666? It was the 6 top food, the 6 top banking, and the 6 top something else. What was it? Anyway, and they did their protocols on all their agendas, which are coming true right now. And that was in 67. And then we had the Trilateral Committee. So he made it sound really super sweet and nice. Like, oh, it's just a bunch of businessmen and I'm just a good boy and we're just talking numbers and that's all we do. And I'm like, this is the actors for the deep state. Like this is who is running the presidency, these people. And but he made it sound really altruistic, and the Trilateral Commission was huge in making all those liaisons and relationships and selling secrets and doing all of that for years and years. And Kissinger was at the head of that too. So just to kind of give everybody that background, because he talks about it like he attended summer camp with a bunch of other boys. And I'm like, ooh. So anyways, I think most of these people are gay, but I'm just going to throw that out there because it usually is the story when they're talking about all this kind of stuff. But
well, Kate, could you tell me what year that was that he was put on the Trilateral Commission?
Let's see. He was 32. So it had to have been like what, late 80s, 80s, okay. 90s. I don't know.
Well, if he actually wrote that on there, it was because everybody sitting at that table already knew who he was.
Of course, he doesn't get in front of all those people. It's such a joke the way he talked about it, such a lie, because he doesn't get, you can't right? You can't get in front of any of those people unless you're part of the club and have been trained up as part of the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my husband's a nice guy, but he's not being invited on the Trilateral Commission.
Yes.
Thankfully,
yes.
I wouldn't want that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous. They all knew who he was already. And we'll talk about why they knew.
Yes, we will talk about the numbers. So this will be interesting because this is another like POV, well, really what you're saying. Well, you say it because I want you to come on and talk about this.
Okay. Well, I have had this kind of burr under my saddle for a really long time that the sex trafficking, all of that business is kind of it's the honeypot. It was the trap.
Yeah.
But it's not the real story underneath. Now, for us as the public, we're all just like, it's a honeypot for us too. We're all caught in the salacious nature of it all. Yes. And we're morally offended, as we should be, and is his right to be. What he was doing was heinous and morally offensive in every way.
What all of them are doing. He's the guy they're shining a light on, but what all of them are doing. Ugh.
Right. The whole Epstein scenario, the island and underage girls and whatever. But
young boys.
The public stops right there.
You're
That's
right.
what he was doing.
You're right. They do.
I have not heard anybody in the media anywhere talking about Jeffrey Epstein financial fraud, the banker that he was. And I think the real criminality, and I have to say this carefully, because all of the underage girls, all the pedophilia, that is real criminality too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I think maybe should we say the first criminality and the deeper criminality and the stuff that's still hidden
and not getting talked about at all.
Correct. Is the financial crimes that he was involved in.
Yeah. Always goes to the money.
I don't hear anybody on the news like combing through the 3,000 Epstein pages looking for financial fraud.
Yeah.
We're just looking for who are the men involved and, what are we going to do about it? That the salacious nature of it has captivated us. And it's kind of stopped us from looking any deeper into him. I mean, he's a bad guy from way
Satanists.
back.
They're total Satanists. I'm sorry, they are.
They are. These are people who regard, and let me put it this way, that if your intent in life is to get gain, financially, power, or whatever that is that you want in life, and you are willing to regard other people as simply assets or objects for your exploitation, you are a really bad guy and a Satanist. That is the key, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to kind of turn the dial back on Jeffrey Epstein and go way in the Wayback Machine.
Okay.
You know how I like to do that. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yes.
So we have to go all the way back to 1972 for the start of it. And if you read the stuff by Whitney Webb, she goes back even farther than that. But we'll start for our purposes in 1972 with the creation by Aga Hassan, I hope I say his name right, Abidi. Okay. He was a Saudi, or excuse me, he was not Saudi. He was a Pakistani banker. And he founded a little organization called the Bank of Commerce and Credit International. And we don't talk too much about BCCI anymore.
No, we could talk. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We don't. But we talk about the Bank of Settlements, but we don't talk about that. So say it again, the title.
The Bank of Settlements is still out there.
Yes.
It's still operational.
Yes.
BCCI is not. It went belly up. And Aga Abidi, or Hassan Abidi, I don't know what name he goes by. He's dead now, but he was convicted of financial fraud connected with BCCI. When BCCI finally fell apart at the very end of the day, they were targeted as the dirtiest bank in the world. Now, if you think about financial dirty bank, we could name a lot of things.
The bottom of the heap, ladies and gentlemen.
Or the top of the heap. Wow. They were the top.
Yeah, in their terms. Sure.
They're the ugliest guys. And they were, so we'll start there.
Okay.
We'll add to that the creation in 1976 of the Safari Club. And I had to kind of go out and take a look at what the Safari Club was. But Safari Club was literally a club of covert intel services that were in particular interested in Africa at the start. That's why I think they called themselves the Safari Club. But initially it was Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, France, and then kind of nibbling around the edges was the United States, South Africa, Rhodesia, and Israel.
Okay.
That formed the Safari Club. They did some kind of crazy stuff in Zaire. They did some crazy stuff in Somalia. But by 1980, the Safari Club was looking at how to fund the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. This is kind of a critical part of this whole story.
Okay.
So 1976, the Safari Club founded. In 1976 is also the same year that Jeffrey Epstein was hired at Bear Stearns by a guy named Ace Greenberg.
Okay.
And Ace Greenberg was a big kahuna, a big manager at Bear Stearns. And he personally recruited Jeffrey Epstein as his personal protege.
So his handler. Go ahead.
He was in essence, Jeffrey Epstein's handler. And it is speculated, it is alleged that Jeffrey Epstein was hired by Greenberg at Bear Stearns to handle Bear Stearns BCCI accounts. So BCCI is an independent bank out there, but they're very secretive. They were not, and they had established themselves in Luxembourg, in London, and in Karachi, Pakistan. And then they were interested in expanding BCCI's influence, and Bear Stearns saw an opportunity because BCCI was being funded with Saudi money. And so it is speculated that in 1976, Jeffrey Epstein was hired at Bear Stearns by Greenberg with the intent for him to handle all of Bear Stearns' BCCI accounts. Okay, that was a mouthful.
Interesting. And by the way, the audience, LB is offering up the guy that you said I think died. The first guy you were talking about.
Aga Hassan Abidi.
Yes, he was the guy that organized the takeover of the Britannica Encyclopedia in 1974. Interesting. That's an interesting piece.
That's an interesting thing.
Okay.
Just like Robert Maxwell bought what was the book publishing company.
Yeah. Always in charge of rewriting history. That's how it works.
Yeah. So in 1976, by the end of 1976, Bear Stearns had their account open at BCCI Luxembourg, and they were doing $25 million daily with BCCI Luxembourg. This is a big money operation.
Yeah.
And it is, again, I'm going to phrase all of this as speculated. Okay. I don't have the receipts for it.
Right.
Perhaps someone out there does.
Okay.
That BCCI was being tagged as the bank to handle the laundering of petrodollars into weapons sales, which is why Brzezinski later in 1980 becomes very interested in how to fund the Mujahideen, which eventually becomes ISIS, right?
Okay.
This is Osama bin Laden in
controlled CIA asset group.
Yeah,
portrayed as a terrorist group. Mm-hmm.
Well, what Brzezinski said, he takes this clandestine helicopter over to Pakistan and he lands. He's going to talk to the Mujahideen guys. And he says, we want to get you some weapons. We want you to make the Russians look bad. It's always Russia, right?
Always.
So we want to get you some weapons so that you can fight Russia.
Mm-hmm.
But how are they going to do that? That would not be something that our U.S. Congress would vote on in a public vote. Mm-hmm. It would be very unpopular with the public. So how are they going to do it? They're going to do it through BCCI. Because BCCI, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, was the bank for all the dark money, wherever it was coming from in the world, whether it was coming from drug cartels, whether it was coming from intel organizations. You have a secret war you want to fund somehow or other. We're going to go through BCCI to do that. Okay. And then no one will know. They were doing very fancy financial maneuvering in order to do all that.
Jeez.
Yeah. And let me remind you.
Very interesting.
Who's running that show?
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Epstein is the guy who's making money. He's transforming. He's doing a magic trick. He's making money become invisible out there moving through the world. That was his specialty.
Mm-hmm.
By 1978, we have the Iranian Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the Safari Club wanted to launder money for weapons to the Mujahideen. Brzezinski and the CIA wanted to do the same. Bear Stearns in 79 was doing $2 billion in BCCI brokering transactions. And in 79 and 80, Jeffrey Epstein is flying back and forth to London, meeting with, remember, BCCI has a London, a Luxembourg, and a Karachi, Pakistan offices.
Okay.
So as Bear Stearns representative, he's flying to London to meet with his London counterparts, handling all this money. So sometimes people say, where did Epstein get all his money from? Where did he get this amazing network? How did he know all these people? Now you know.
Now we know.
Now you know, because he was flirting and hanging around with all of these people that are slushing dark money through BCCI, and he's a part of that.
Interesting.
1981 and 82, Epstein is believed to be meeting with CIA, MI6, and Saudi intel.
Mm-hmm.
He was having personal meetings with Doug Leese, who's from British MI6.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually shared an apartment in New York City with Stan Pottinger, who is a known CIA asset.
Yeah.
And Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi gun runner.
That's why
those were three of his really good friends.
Birds of a feather. It's interesting though. You know, I played that piece on John Kiriakou, who I've had on the show, ex CIA, right? They're never ex. Well, they're always present CIA. But he was there going, oh yeah, he was just a Mossad agent. Well, no, he wasn't just a Mossad agent. He was all the intelligences work together. So to kind of pawn it off on Mossad agent, I was just like, yeah, that's not completely honest there. You know what I mean? Yeah, working with the Mossad, but not completely honest because they all work together.
It's fascinating to me. I would hesitate to say it's all of them, but it's fascinating to me over the time that I've been studying any of some of this dark stuff, how often you run into stories that involve the CIA, MI6, the Mossad, the Saudis, the French, the Israelis, not Mossad, but the same players come up over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There is a little clique of them, and they are trying to run the world. Every now and then I hear Putin say something about him disliking all of that, and I think, yeah, I kind of dislike it too. Not that I'm a Putin fan. I'm not a big Putin fan, but
I just think I think Russia's controlled. So I mean, I think when he's saying things about this, I think he's actually being pretty honest. I do, yeah. We've just painted a picture of him, so
he can't do much more except be honest. Okay, by 1981, Jeffrey Epstein has left Bear Stearns, and he's kind of running a business on his own. And I think this is a kind of a transitional time for him. He gets a fake Saudi passport, presumably with the assistance of Adnan Khashoggi, and sets up these what's called a crude oil deal, which is just a ruse for saying money laundering, with Stan Pottinger and Doug Leese.
Okay.
So now we have Epstein on his own, still running money. 1985 and 86 is Iran-Contra, right?
Right.
Remember all that?
Yes.
And Jeffrey Epstein is part of the finance for Iran-Contra. He's the guy that all these people are going to run to get what he did. He started his career as a banker for the CIA. That's what his job was at Bear Stearns. He's a banker for the CIA. His ability, his superhero ability, was to take oil, weapons, covert action, convert it to cash, or take cash and convert it to weapons, take oil and convert it to money, to convert it to weapons, and to do it all invisibly so that it was untraceable money around the world.
Right.
So he had a whole network. By 1981, 82, he has a whole network of dark money, international intrigue that includes Saudi billionaires, Israeli intel operations, including Ehud Barak, who was heavily involved with Mossad and visited Epstein 47 times in New York, with British arms dealers, with the Spanish and French and English royalty. Every one of them. This is all CIA conduits. They're all spying on each other, and Jeffrey Epstein's in the middle of that network. He's playing to the highest bidder. So why was he being protected when he's arrested in 2006, I guess, after the grand jury indicts him in Palm Beach? Why does he get protected? We're all just like, oh, why didn't they prosecute him? Well, Alex Acosta, the Florida prosecutor, said that someone higher up told him to lay off of Epstein because he was an intel asset. Who's higher up than the Attorney General of the state of Florida? You figured that out. I don't know. Who told him to lay off Epstein?
It's a club and we ain't in it. That. And everybody that's on the list is saying they had a fundraising meeting with him, you know? It makes me laugh. I'm like, another fundraising meeting, huh?
Imagine Epstein sitting in court spilling this story in an open courtroom. The intel community worldwide could not have him do that. So what does he get? He gets a little slap on the wrist. He was, I think, found guilty of a single charge of soliciting for prostitution. He gets so many months house arrest with a little ankle bracelet. Nothing. It's nothing. It's not even a slap. And what's interesting to me at this point is that of all the people that have been involved with Epstein, the names that we could name, Prince Andrew is the only one that's going to pay the price here.
They like their scapegoats. they pick certain people to be the scapegoats.
So yeah. So that's why I think, this is why I think that the girls of Epstein's Island and other places, what Epstein was really tempting powerful people around the world with was the financial fraud. I can take your money and I can make it disappear in the world. You'll still have it, but nobody will tax you on it. No one will know where it is. We can set up secret funds because that was his specialty from the time he was 25 years old at Bear Stearns, was to take money and make it disappear. And so how tempting is that if you're Bill Gates? How tempting is that if you are, we've all seen, the number, if you're Bill Clinton, I can make things disappear. I can make your assets disappear. I can make you more money on the black financial markets. You can have all your dreams. So that was what enticed them through the door. But once they got there, I'm sure some of them are enticed by the girls. But the girls are the honeypot. They're the way in which we gain that leverage over people, so that, if I'm from country X and I want information about country Y, I can go through Epstein to get leverage on the president, the royalty, the head of state, the CEO of multi-million-dollar business. I can go through him to get that leverage so that I can make them dance on my strings. So that's what I think. Yeah. That's my personal thinking about it. I've never thought that the girls are the end of the corruption.
They're not.
I think that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I think it's a smaller part actually of what has been going on. There was a piece written and it was all about how Elon Musk was trained in a psychological manipulation with this Jeffrey Epstein funded program. I think it was called The Edge, these psychological nudge units. And then this program called The Edge, which was funded by Jeffrey Epstein. And there were meetings that took place even back in 2010 and 11 that were Jeff Bezos and the owner of Google, Sergey, and him and Epstein and all these different people talking about the future of humanity, how they were going to, set things in motion. So I think there's just so much more there, but the media will, like you said, only concentrate on this fraction of it rather than the whole banana. Like they won't talk about how intricate everything is with this club and how much they all work together and who owns the programs and the softwares and the software programs that went in and knows where the bodies are buried.
Like I said, I'm not always sure that they're all cooperating together. I think these are backstabbers with each other as well.
Could be. I mean, they're meeting together, but that doesn't mean they're all on the same page. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. So if I work for the CIA and you work for MI6 and I want to know what you know, I'm going to get you in a compromising position so that I can exploit your information for my purpose.
Sure.
And so these are horrible people. These are genuinely, I mean, who needs friends like this, right? And I think that what they don't want us to think about, I think it's very, pardon the phrase, but it's kind of a sexy story, if you know what I mean, to talk about underage girls and it's, we can kind of comprehend, although I don't comprehend it, honestly. Well, but we can understand that kind of sexual corruption.
I've always wondered why anyone that's committing a crime would take a photo doing it. So when I see all these pictures, my first thought is why are they putting these out there? Because they want us to buy into a particular part of the story, not ask any other questions about anything else. Because if you're in the middle of a crime, you're not going to stand there smiling for a photo. You would never want to have photo evidence of your crime. So I know these people aren't that stupid. So they're painting a picture, and that picture is that all of them are with these young girls. And there's I think there's trafficking happening. I think there's all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, you could go even into cannibalism. You could go into a lot of creepy, weird things that Satanists do, but you would never take a photo of your crime. So there's something odd there, right? I don't know. It just seems strange.
I think at a certain point, some of these people have been corrupt for so long, they believe truly that they're untouchable.
Okay.
They truly believe that.
Talk a little louder. You're not coming in very loud. Sorry.
I think at a certain point, many of these people have been doing corrupt things for so long, they think they're untouchable. They think they will never be caught. They've been doing this for 20 or 30 years and no one has ever caught them. So why not?
But doing them and then taking a picture, knowing that picture is going to be out there for anyone.
Well, how exciting. How exciting.
Maybe.
To live on the edge. I mean, these people are nuts. These are crazy people. They're not.
But they're smart. That's why I'm like, they're not that dense. There's something odd about it is all I'm saying. Like, why did they do that? Why are they showing all these pictures and they have them at the ready? So I don't know. There's just something odd about it. That's all.
Well, you know what? We're not seeing photographs of the financial fraud, are we not?
Mm-mm.
Because how do you take a picture of that? How do you take a picture of someone moving assets around the world and into slush funds and laundering money from here to there? There's another interesting aspect to this. Ghislaine Maxwell was asked under oath to describe a little bit about what Jeffrey Epstein did. How did his financial stuff work? And what she said, it was fascinating. She said, imagine, she said, she's just going to make this up, right? She's just making it up. She said, if, say, for example, this has a big money, they get a big chunk of money, and they're cooperating at the moment with the Sinaloa cartel. And Sinaloa has access to some portion of El Chapo's money. And so they are going to just shave some of that off and keep it for themselves. Now, El Chapo can go to someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who's dealing with all of them, and say, I want my money back. And Jeffrey Epstein will go get the money from Sinaloa, and he'll keep a cut of it for himself and return the rest to El Chapo. What's interesting about that story is that the US CIA cut a deal with Sinaloa a long time ago that they would not prosecute them. And interestingly enough, when we go to arrest Maduro, what is the charge against Maduro? That he's cooperating with the Sinaloa cartel. It's redundant. It's strange. Why would we do that?
Right.
Why would we go arrest another state leader for the exact same thing that we have done, cooperating with Sinaloa, right? And why would Ghislaine Maxwell use that as this example she just pulled out of her head? It's very odd. It's very odd, but it tells you a little bit about what she saw about how he moved money around. Where was he getting his money? Was Jeffrey Epstein just the most charming, amazing man ever?
Ew.
Why was he a partner at Bear Stearns so quickly? Oh, because he was handling millions and millions of dark money through their doors.
Involved with Wexler, all kinds of individuals like that that own Victoria's Secret. Yeah,
he doesn't pick up Les Wexner until after he leaves Bear Stearns. But yeah, he's another just absolutely crazy guy. So Jeffrey Epstein was absolutely known to associate with anybody who he could exploit for money. And I think their they're using him as well. They're using his network for their own purposes. Les Wexner owned the CIA airline. So, goodness.
Another part of this is that Congress, why are they having to vote on whether to see files or not? That is a sham. That's a sham. That is not, that's not a thing. They've made it into a thing. It's not a thing. Any kind of criminality like that would be shown because actually the president can just sign off on that. Congress voting on whether to see it or not is actually ridiculous. I shouldn't even go through Congress's hands, I believe. But anyway, well, constitutionally, it's ridiculous. But
I just wanted to kind of share that perspective on Epstein, that he was not what he seems. If we look at what the media is feeding us right now, there's a lot more to him and his criminality and immorality than just sex crimes.
Well, it reminds me of Diddy. So Diddy, they'll talk about his sex crimes, but they won't say that many people high up the ladder had him in that spot to traffic and funnel and do the things he was doing. So they'll never tell the whole story, and they wouldn't in this either, right? So they'll just never tell the whole story about who was telling. You'll never hear who was telling Diddy to do what and who put him there. Just won't. Yeah, it just won't happen.
If you're just a member of the public and you begin to fully grasp what was happening at Bear Stearns, does it make you not wonder about what our banks are doing right now? Bear Stearns was doing this how long ago?
Yeah.
In the 80s, 1980, 1976. Who has taken over this job to launder money?
Sure.
And, let's not think for a minute that money laundering has stopped or that it's not a thing. That this was just something that happened back then in those days. And Jeffrey Epstein's dead now, so it's okay now.
Yeah.
No, they've just moved elsewhere. I have no doubt that dark money is still moving around the globe. Through somebody's hands. Now, so one of the things that just came out in the Epstein papers was Jeffrey Epstein's comment that everybody knew he worked for the Rothschilds. Well, great. More dark banking stories.
But
it's a story with many tentacles, I think.
Sure.
I think we're not at the bottom of it. And I don't know that we have the will to get to the bottom of it.
At the end of the day, it's like everything else that happens. You'll never see all of it. Okay. So you'll never, and nothing will ever be done about it. So it's fodder. It's kind of like, the trials, even though they were rubbish, the trials were fakery through CIA courts for several years before the election. And they were all done by CIA courts. And this is why when you were looking at those courts, you saw that no family members were ever there. It wasn't nothing went according to law. Like everything was weird. Right. And they were CIA courts, but it stayed in, my point is it stayed in the news for years because they could utilize that. So they're going to utilize parts and remnants of this, of these files that no one was ever going to see. We still are never really going to see. And then, and they'll give us little, like red herrings and little things about it, but it will never get down to the bottom of what this truly delves into. And I think you're right about going into the financial angles because, and the data angles, because there was so much there, but you're right. The media itself, the bought and sold media will never talk about it. Never talk about it.
Partly because they're involved in it.
Yes.
That's part of the reason they're not going to talk about it. And, the other thing is it takes a great deal of mental fortitude to follow a story about financial fraud. It does not take much financial fortitude to follow a story about old, powerful guys and young, beautiful juvenile girls. That's easy to understand.
Yeah. And
moving dark money all over the world through shell corporations from here to there to buy guns for the Mujahideen. That's not quite so easy to follow or explain to the American public.
True. And the reason I was talking about the photos with the girls, very, very readily taking these photos, which they knew would get out somehow, some way, because they always do. But, and I know they're smart. And so part of me wonders, and I know I'll offend people because of the way I say this, but part of me wonders if that's part of the Men Are Pigs project that's been going on since the 70s, 60s, and 70s, with men being, worthless and women having it all and knowing it all. And that it goes to the Men Are Pigs project, and that really what we're not being shown is probably the boys involved, is what I'm saying. Like, the boys. It's not really about the girls, it's about the boys, because whenever they show us something, it's usually the opposite. So would that expose many people as gay? It could, or pedophiles. Okay. But mostly with boys, I would imagine. That's where my brain takes me. 'Cause I'm like, if they're showing us this, then it's not that, it's this. And it's even crazier.
I'm not even sure all of it is sexual misconduct either. I have heard a rumor, and I will state it as a rumor, that Bill Gates was interested in doing like nasty, torturous things to children, not for sexual gratification. Although now the STD story has come out too. So, but just because that's who he is, and who knows, whatever, when you have people in this state of corruption, and in this kind of mental frame, anything, they can do anything they want. And they think that they have a right to do anything they want. When you begin to define other human beings as fodder or cattle, or they're just there for you to exploit and use however you want, you can do anything. It doesn't have to be. And we're not seeing that.
Yeah, you're never going to be shown that. All of the real story is what you're saying.
It would be shocking, and it would be horrifying. And I think none of us, I mean, I don't know that I want to see that. I know already, without seeing that these people are morally bankrupt on every level, from financial to moral to ethical, all of it. They're just corrupt.
Right. There was a story about Bill Gates, and of course, his wife was on a program, and his ex-wife was on a program, and how he gave her an STD, and then was writing Epstein, and then of course slipped her antibiotics for the STD without her knowing. I think all those things actually are lies. I think that they're conjuring that up to get us off real stories about it. I think that there's going to be so many things like that that are talked about on our right that aren't accurate. I just, there was something about that story that seemed very fake to me, because she's one of the clubs. So he it's one of the club.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
In the 3,000 pages.
Yeah.
And it's some of it post dates Epstein's supposed death. And so I have heard that conversation as well. And some of this stuff is just bait for us, so that we'll never know which of this stuff is true and which of it isn't.
Yes. Like, we won't know how much AI we see with Epstein too, and how much is created content. So there's a lot there. And I'm not saying that things aren't going on. I think they're worse than we have realized. I think they're worse than we think. But we're always told, they're always shoving out the story that is the distraction story. So I think you're right on that. I think it's way deeper and way weirder.
I do too. And these are the people, this whole BCCI stuff. I want to remind everybody that there was a reporter who was, and I can't remember now who he was working for, which news outlet he was working for, but he was doing a deep dive on BCCI and turned up dead before he could publish. So there is more to BCCI. I have said this when that story broke, however many years ago it was. I remember telling my husband, this is the story of our lifetime here. They broke and bankrupted a dark bank, and we're not ever going to be allowed to know what they were funding, ever. So I still think there's much that we don't know about BCCI, about who was involved with them,
what it funded,
and about what they were funding around the world.
I'm with you on that. I think we won't know what it funded.
Well, it could have funded, somebody had to provide the funds for, the lab in China that grew COVID, right? Somebody had to provide funding.
Well, that was our CIA. So
it is, but they have to fund it in a way that is untraceable.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's
I see what you're saying.
They can't write a check and put it in the mail.
Yes.
They have to run it through some kind of bank or some kind of transfer of wealth. How does that happen? Somebody is the banker for these people still to this day. Who's doing that? And I'm not sure whether AI can do that in the future. Maybe that's a job that AI will be doing.
Well, we'll all be on the blockchain where everything we do is transparent, but don't think for a second that they're going to be on the same system. So they'll always work around that system. The criminals of society usually do.
There will always be dark money moving.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how it goes.
I spend a lot of time reading about the international, the bank. What you said the name of it earlier?
The International Bank of Settlements.
The BIS Bank in Geneva,
Bank of International Settlements. Sorry,
the BIS, and they were funding both sides in World War II. Yeah, they were funding Hitler as well as funding things in England and in America.
Let's take a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Kate, what a fascinating show you got going here.
Thanks.
I did know about BCCI way back in the 90s and the what have you. Is your guest familiar with the American Free Press?
No,
she says no.
Okay, all right. American Free Press did cover a lot of this. Not specifically Epstein, of course, way back when, but they did get into BCCI and how the Shaul Eisenberg was the big one financing a lot of the operations against Kennedy and the operations for hauling Israeli when they stole from Apollo, Pennsylvania, the nukes from the Numet Corporation.
Right.
So obviously, you still had Meyer Lansky was the big money launderer back in the 60s and the 50s and what have you. But it looks like that the baton was passed off from Meyer Lansky to Epstein, because the American Free Press, the newspaper that John Wayne helped bring about, it was called the Spotlight back then. They exposed much of this machinations and tying to the Mossad and to Maxwell and all these people. And one last thing, on the sex part of things and the Zorro Ranch and everything in New Mexico involving Mr. Epstein, I heard rumors, Kate, back in the 90s, and everything that's coming out now is really confirming them about Angel Fire, New Mexico, and the Zorro Ranch.
Yeah.
That Bill Clinton had murdered, this is a rumor now, had murdered a couple of high school age girls after using them there. At the time, I thought that was outlandish when I first heard this. And there's so much confirming things. He did that and more. And Bill Clinton, just like the rest of them, are guilty. And the knowledge that the people around Trump or Trump himself have to have on these reprobates like Hillary and what have you it's definitely established. We have to do something about it, and I don't think it'll be done politically. We're going to have and Kate, not with a coup as such, or the military. It's going to have to be retired generals and admirals that really know the score and that can come in with the American people behind them and shove some of these modern military men out of the way and get the job done. That's the only way. Otherwise, we're going to have a helter-skelter revolution. No, we need, or a civil war. We need a revolt, but they need to take those people down.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
It's fascinating. I think if anybody's interested in the Meyer Lansky avenue on it, I recommend Whitney Webb's book, which I'm trying to look up the title of it right now. My phone won't let me see it, but she's got a 2-volume work on that is theoretically about Epstein, but the whole first volume of that book lays the foundation with Bronfman and Lansky and all of the. She goes all the way back to the days of. It's called One Nation Under Blackmail. 2 volumes. And I'll just offer this caution with it.
Sure.
I read the first volume and got about a third of the way into the second volume, and I had to put the book down. And I was just like, "This is making me depressed."
Welcome to my life.
It's so grim. I didn't even get to Epstein, actually. Yeah. I did not even get to him. But she's laying down, Whitney Webb lays down the pathway that led directly to Epstein. And you're right, Meyer Lansky, by the time of Epstein, Meyer Lansky was an old guy. And so it was time for the torch to pass somewhere else. But yeah, financial impropriety and financial fraud and laundering dark money is nothing new.
Right.
Epstein just did it on a much bigger scale, and even the sexual impropriety is nothing new. Whitney Webb traces that right in parallel. It's the same story over and over. So she starts way back in the J. Edgar Hoover days. So before Kennedy, before any of that, and you will see those same names come up again and again. I also wanted to share this. This was kind of interesting. I don't know how many people are aware of Nick. I think he says his name Freitas or Freitas. He's out of Virginia.
Oh yeah, Nick Freitas. Yes. Yeah, he's got some good clips. I've played him. I've played him on the show a lot.
Yeah, he said and he has a little clip out. I think it was just out today, and it started out by him saying, "Yeah, anybody who thought Pizzagate was not real is. I wonder how they're feeling today, because we've gotten some proof of that." But here's what he said: if we want to stop powerful people from doing horrible things and continuing to get away with it, here's his 3-point plan. I think it's great. He says the first thing is we need to set an example, like medieval style. Make some arrests, have some convictions in an incredibly public way, so that these people who are doing this need to be scared to death of what could actually happen to them when they're found out. Because I think that's what Epstein proves, is that these people were not afraid. So number 2, his suggestion is when we constantly push sexual degeneracy culturally, it becomes the norm. He says, why do we continue, all the weird story time at the library, and we have to have every kind of book available to our children? What do they think was going to happen? So we've got to stop that. And the third thing was, he said, dads in particular, but parents need to make sure that this doesn't happen to their kid. We all need to become, super bears about protecting our children's innocence, and that there will be a reckoning from us if anybody tries to touch our kids. So I kind of agree with him, but I thought it was hilarious. Reckoning.
Wait, say that again. You cut out. Sorry.
Oh, we need medieval style reckoning.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Like where it's so public. Like in the Middle Ages, they cut people's heads off and hung them on the gate of the city as a warning. This is what we do to people who do this.
Yeah.
And he said, right now, nobody's afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just 2 things bothering me about this Epstein thing. And number 1 is the pictures, which I just think smart people aren't going to take photos like that. But so they're out there. And the other thing is why do these individuals like Andrew and Clinton and all those guys need to have trafficked girls? Why aren't they just girls will be there trying to get close to them and trying to get in their peripheral? So that part doesn't make sense. So I'm just trying to make sense of the Epstein thing, because whenever we're told by the media something, usually it's the opposite. So that's why I'm trying to figure out what there's more here that we haven't uncovered. So we'll get busy even doing more deep dives, right? Because something doesn't make sense about that. It's like they don't need trafficked girls. They can meet them. So I don't understand. I don't know. There's just something wonky here. Wonky.
Maybe there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope, because I think people like Prince Andrew, now that he's suffering the wrath of public opinion, he's not so happy about it. And I really do believe that these people believe that they are untouchable. I believe that they absolutely believe they are untouchable. They believe that they can get away and do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter to them. They think that they are protected.
Mm.
And so they why should they care? And a certain number of them, I had just heard that Epstein's homes, they had cameras in every room,
Mm-hmm.
including bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
They surely knew that they were being filmed, but they just don't care.
Right. But I mean, the filming thing, people in this day and age where it would have been a lot different, I think, in the 40s and 50s. In this day and age, a tryst with a woman, even a teenage girl, wouldn't have done much. But little boys, that would be more pedophiles or doing something much deeper with these kids would be more of a honeypot, right? So they're shoving out the young girls, but I'm like, that isn't a deal breaker for a lot of people, like as far as taking them out of the limelight. So it has to be something deeper going on.
Are we willing to talk about satanic ritual?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure these guys are Satanists. I'm sure there's a lot of that going on, but we'll have to look deeper too. There's something just really strange. I don't know. I don't know about the story they're putting out versus what the reality is. I don't know. We're getting there though. And I think the money thing, like you said, it's always about the money. And so there's a lot of money going on for data, for body parts, for little boys. I don't know. You go back to the 90s, and that's when they were trying to uncover all the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s of all the little boys, right? The boy prostitutes and stuff, and they were trying to bury all those stories in the press. Tom Brokaw did a story, and then it was removed. And then about the boys' ranch, remember that in the Midwest? I don't know. There's just some even more sinister things happening, and I just can't put my finger on what it would be. And maybe I don't want to. Like you said, maybe it's too much.
Do we need to know every detail to know that they're corrupt, that these people are wicked and evil? I don't think I need to know that.
Yeah.
To end on a religious note about it, somebody was, and I can't remember now who it was that said it, that when God says vengeance is mine, he doesn't say vengeance will be mine someday. He says it is mine now.
Mm.
And maybe we need to have faith in that.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
we don't, and this is not saying that we don't need to prosecute these people or bring charges against them or whatever.
They just never will. I mean, the reality is that no one ever gets prosecuted.
That's a different thing, that whether they will or won't. But we can have confidence that these people they're not wholesome, decent, happy, well-balanced human beings. The real question for me is, how much is ever enough? What possible temptation could there be for Bill Gates to protect his money? I mean, how much money does he need, really? Is there any end to their appetite? And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people who have a voracious appetite for money, for power, for control over others, for sexuality, for whatever. They just want everything. They want it all. And they regard you, Kate, I hate to break it to you, but we are the sheeple, we're just the little cattle people.
Yeah.
And
that's for sure.
It's not, I'm not being a cattle person to say, I don't need to know all of your crimes to know that you're wicked. Yeah. And that God will have his.
Yeah, I don't need to know every nook and cranny is what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't need to know.
Yeah. By their fruits you shall know them. So, these people are pretty easy to see. It's the people behind them that I worry about even more than even them. It's the people behind them, the ones that we can't see, because they're always going to shove out onto the stage the people they want us to argue about, right? Bill Gates is a total fraud, and he never developed Microsoft. And so, but they shove him out there in the story plenty, right? So they utilize their assets, and these people are assets. And so that's why I'm like, and who's behind the assets,
Well, trust me when I say that Jeffrey Epstein's day had come too. He was no longer useful. So the show has moved on somewhere else. because we know him now.
Mm-hmm.
If I had talked to you in 1976 about him, you would have said, Jeffrey who? We didn't know who he was. We didn't know what BCCI was.
Right.
So when he's fed to the media machine, to the public fodder, you know that they're done. The machine is done with him.
Yeah.
The machine should be done with a whole bunch of other people too.
Right.
We should be done with Bill Gates.
Yeah.
We should be done with Alex Bezos. We should probably be done with Elon Musk as well.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos. Yes.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. We should be done with the CEO at BlackRock. None of these people have our interests or our liberty at heart.
Yeah.
None of them.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you. No, great. It was great. I'm so glad that you covered this because interesting, very, very interesting part of the story to examine that doesn't get talked about. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You're the best. Thanks, ladies. And of course, thank you. I really, really appreciate you. And if I have some things to share, I'll hit it live tomorrow. If not, I won't. But I'm doing some research. If I present it, it'll be tomorrow. And live, same bat station, same bat channel. And of course, we're back. Be faithful, be fearless. And thank you for your support of the sponsors. When you go to katedalleyradio.com, the sponsors are there. And I really need you to support them because otherwise we can't do this. We just simply can't do it. January is a rough month for us. February is rough. And I'm telling you, if you go to those sponsors and get those things, they will help us stay on the air and you'll get something for it. Very, very cool. Go get some Cardio Miracle, get some energy, right? Like this, okay? But I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And thank you and good night. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Melissa.